Hello, what's up, Guru Nation? Welcome in the Gurus Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer the Guru, here with today's episode of the podcast, in which we will be discussing the top 5 players at each position. You heard that right, top 5 players at each position. We're smiling here, having a good time here. All right, let's do this thing. Top 5 at each position. We got quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. Before we dive in, got a few announcements to make. My co-host, Commissioner Crook, could not be here again tonight. So what we're going to do, since he's got a super busy schedule, we're going to have a new co-host in for the next episode. His name is Josh Como. He's actually a member of one of my leagues, actually in 2 leagues with him. He's a fantasy football enthusiast, loves playing it, and he's going to be doing our next podcast episode. This one I'm going to ride solo, but Josh will be on the next one, and he's gonna bring us some energy here. Gonna have a good time with him for the next episode. And also wanted to announce that y'all should check out the videos I've been doing with my coworker Kevin Foote. We're at the Daily Advertiser newspaper in Lafayette. He's actually my mentor, and since I've been growing up, he's been a big part of my life, showing me the ropes to sports writing. He's definitely a great guy, great sports mind. Knows he's been playing fantasy since the 80s, y'all. So y'all should make sure to check him out. Check out these videos. I'll have the link to them in the description here on YouTube. But these videos are up on the Daily Advertiser website. So definitely gonna be having more podcasts here. But yeah, definitely. Even though I haven't had any last week, unfortunately, haven't been sleeping. We've been staying on the grind here, Guru Nation. Been staying on the grind, and yeah, y'all should definitely check those out. But all right, let's get into this podcast here. Let's do this thing. Top 5 at each position. The top quarterbacks. Here we go. I gotta say, my favorite quarterback this season has got to be Aaron Rodgers. I really like Rodgers this year. The guy is so consistent, has such great upside, and also has his old offensive coordinator back this season in Joe Philbin. So that means even more opportunity for Rodgers to air it out. He's super consistent. He's been on pace to throw for 30-plus touchdowns and less than 10 picks every year for the past 7 years, guys. He's the definition of consistency. He is amazing. I mean, the only reason he didn't do it 2 of those years, 2013 and last season, was because of fluke injuries, but he'll be back healthy this year. Should be good to go. Really love Rodgers this season. He's the number 1 quarterback in my eyes. Number 2 here, we got Russell Wilson. Really like Russell Wilson this year. He's just another one of those elite quarterbacks you can't pass up on if he falls in the draft there in the 5th, 6th round. I'm grabbing me Russell Wilson. He's just so good, and he should throw even more this year with the Seahawks defense in decline. The entire Legion of Boom's gone, it seems like. Earl Thomas, the lone member, wants out. So, I mean, their defense is going to take a huge decline this year, meaning Russell Wilson will be forced to throw more to make up for that. Also loves to run. He's averaged 466 rushing yards the past 3 years, and that's even factoring in his hurt 2016 season, which he was kind of battling an injury. But other than that, I mean, he's always over 500 rushing yards. The guy is a stud, and he always throws for 4,000 or more yards. Could throw for even more this year, like I said, with the defense in decline. But I mean, Russell Wilson, though, can't go wrong with him as your QB1. He's elite. He'll get his numbers. He's a guy I want on my squad this year for sure. Number 3 quarterback here, we've got Tom Brady. Really like Brady. I mean, he can't go wrong with Tom Brady. He is Mr. Consistent. He does it every year. I mean, year in, year out, the guy produces. Arguably the greatest quarterback to ever play. I mean, he's incredible. Always throws for well over 4,000 yards. Actually, over like 4,500. I mean, his average, his per 16 game average is 4,691 yards, 35 touchdowns, and only 6 picks. I mean, he was suspended 4 games in 2016. I mean, not worried about that, though. I mean, that was the Deflategate scandal. I mean, but it's whatever. He's served his time or whatever. But I mean, Brady is so rock solid. He gets it done year in and year out. I'm definitely not scared off by his age. He just seems to be it's like a fine wine, gets better with age, it seems like. Brady is incredible. Definitely on board with him as a QB1. And same with the next guy I got on my list. And this might surprise some people here, but I'm going all in with Drew Brees here at number 4. Love me some Drew Brees this year. Got him up here. I mean, he's my favorite player to ever play. And it's in the bias talking. This is what I really believe. I really believe that Drew Brees is going to have a huge year this year. Going to bounce back from last season. Actually still had a good year last season. Just had his fantasy numbers were down because he wasn't throwing quite as much. Didn't have the touchdowns that he normally has. Only 23, a big drop from his career normal. But even with that factor in, as we look at his per 16 average for the past 3 years, like I did with Brady, I mean, he still threw for, even with last year's down year, he still has averaged 31 touchdowns. Only 11 picks, not bad. A little more than Brady, but I mean, it's not too bad. With the Saints' improved defense, shouldn't have to worry about picks as much. Won't have to force as many throws. And still averages, despite last year being a little down, still threw for over 4,000. But the years before, he was almost to 5,000. I mean, his 3-year average from the past 3 years, 4,804 yards. I mean, guys, Drew Brees is incredible. The numbers don't lie. He gets his numbers every year. Last year, like I said, it was a little bit down, but he'll bounce back. It was just an outlier. I mean, outliers can happen every now and then, even in the best of them. So, I mean, Drew Brees is an elite QB1. Don't let the sheep fool you. Don't let him fool you into thinking last year was his norm. Don't just copy and paste last year's stuff. You've got to look at the big picture, and the big picture proves that Drew Brees is an elite QB1. And coming in here as our number 5 quarterback, a guy probably with the highest ceiling out of any quarterback in fantasy, and that's Deshaun Watson. I love Deshaun Watson this year. I was tempted to put him all the way at number 1, but the 4 in front of him are just so consistent, so good year in and year out. I couldn't quite put Watson ahead of him. I mean, he hasn't even played a full year. I mean, those guys are all so proven. But I love Watson, though. I mean, he's so good. He does have the highest ceiling, and he should be good to go week 1. He's coming off the torn ACL in mid-year last year, but he should be good. Already shed the knee brace from what I've heard, so he should be all right. Health shouldn't be a problem, although his aggressive running style could be cause for concern. They said he will be running a lot again this year, but when he's healthy, that's going to help him because he was on pace last year to throw for close to 4,000 yards, and also was on pace to run for over 600 yards, 615. And his touchdowns, this is what was really incredible, on pace for 43 passing touchdowns and 6 rushing touchdowns. That's close to a total of, that's 49 total touchdowns. That's insane, guys. That is insane. I mean, that just shows you the kind of ceiling he has. I'm not saying he's going to produce those kind of numbers, but it definitely wouldn't shock me if he'd get at least 35 to 40 combined touchdowns. And then with the rushing and passing yards, probably over 4,000. I'd say he's right up there. As long as he's healthy, he's right up there with those other elite QBs. I mean, he's the real deal, guys. Deshaun Watson's not a fluke. He's gonna put up some big numbers this year, health permitting. All right, let's move on here to running backs. Top 5 running backs. Number 1, got to go with Todd Gurley. I mean, Todd Gurley, if y'all haven't heard, he just got paid today. Actually had a big payday, 4 years, $60 million, 45 of that guaranteed. I mean, huge contract for Gurley. Great news for him. It gives him that long-term security. He's going to be ready to go this year. He's going to have a huge year. Had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage last year, 2,093 to be exact, with 19 touchdowns. I mean, 19, that is a lot. And he improved big time as a wide receiver with Sean McVay in that new offense. Had 64 catches last year, a career high. And he had a down year. A lot of people bring it up in 2016. But despite that down year, he still has a career yards per carry average of 4.2, which is very solid. He's the top player in fantasy. You can't go wrong with Gurley. He will produce. He'll get his numbers. He's elite. I mean, can't guarantee that he'll finish on top again because we've got a lot of other great players we're going to discuss. But Gurley, I definitely has the best chance to finish number 1 overall, in which case I'm going with him first overall if I have that opportunity and get first pick. All right, moving on here to number 2, and I'm going with David Johnson here at number 2. Really love DJ this year. He had huge year a couple years ago, 2016. Missed all last year with a fluky wrist injury, but I mean, he's back healthy. Not worried about that. He had 20 touchdowns in 2016, along with a whopping 2,118 yards from scrimmage, guys. I mean, 80 catches. I mean, he said his goal is 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards. I mean, he could be a 1,000 player. I mean, that is incredible. David Johnson, guys, if you had that second overall pick in PPR, I'm all in with DJ. can't miss player. He's awesome. I'm in with him. I mean, he's very good. Even if you got burned by him last year and you get that high pick again, don't be scared off. He's gonna get it done. So number 3 here, we got Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke this year, now that his suspension's up, I won't have to worry about that anymore. He'll be ready to go rock and roll, have a chip on his shoulder, ready to prove that he's going to be even better this season. And I think he will, because he's going to have more of a role in the passing game from what I've heard. More of a role in the passing game with Dallas's lack of receivers. So, I mean, Zeke Elliott, he's going to do it all. I definitely think he'll get over 2,000 yards from scrimmage, because if he do, for the past 2 years, his per 16 game average would have been 2,077 yards from scrimmage and 16 touchdowns. I think he could even exceed that this season and be right up there with Gurley and DJ. I mean, Zeke is incredible. I mean, especially with that expanded passing game role, he's gonna see. We'll see his fair share of stacked boxes, so that could hurt his rushing efficiency some down the stretch. But he's still so good, so elite. He's definitely someone I'm targeting if I have a top 3 pick for sure. Gotta love Zeke. Won't go wrong there. Moving on here to number 4. This is where I'm going to shake things up here. I'm going with Saquon Barkley. Going with Saquon here at number 4. Really like Saquon this year. I actually love Saquon this year. I had the 5th overall pick this weekend in a Twitterverse Instagram draft, and I went all in with Saquon. I put my money where my mouth is. I mean, I'm not just running my mouth here trying to steer y'all wrong. I want y'all to win, and I'm doing all in with the players I love, and I'm all in with Saquon Barkley. This guy will produce, guys. I mean, last year, you got to think, college football is 12 games. These were his stats from last year. 1,903 yards from scrimmage, 21 total touchdowns, and 54 catches. I mean, that is incredible. I mean, he just totally destroyed his competition last season. It's Big Ten. Was in the Big Ten. Those are not just some crap teams. Those are some legit opponents. So, I mean, Saquon put it up. I was watching his highlight tape. It was just insane. I mean, he reminded me somewhat of, in a way, kind of like Barry Sanders. And I mean, I'm sure any of y'all that know football and know Barry Sanders, he's just, even for those of y'all just getting into it, he was the GOAT of running backs, the greatest running back I've ever seen run. I didn't get to see him run in person. He was a little before my time, but I mean, he was just so incredible. The way he could just shake tacklers, and the way Saquon was shaking tacklers was just so incredible. And I just feel like he's got all the upside in the world, and even his receiving upside's ridiculous. I mean, he's got the ability to be arguably the top player in fantasy his rookie year. I'm not saying he will, though. I'm not going to take him first overall, but if I like I did in the draft this weekend, like the 5th pick, I'm all in with Saquon, guys. Give me Saquon all day. And here we go to wrap it up for running backs. Number 5, got Le'Veon Bell. At number 5. Also about Saquon, he's been the highest graded running back prospect in over a decade, to give y'all even a little more reason to take him if you didn't want to take him already. But that's a little cherry on top there. But as for Le'Veon Bell, I'm really not feeling him this year. He still had a great year last year. Still had 1,946 yards from scrimmage despite the decline in efficiency that I've been bringing up. I've made a lot of people aware that the decline in efficiency, 4.0 yards per carry. That's a big decrease. He's normally over 4.5. He's normally very efficient, but he led the league in carries last year, so I'm not really that's not a good sign. He's still holding out. They never worked out the contract dispute. And he's going to be under a lot of pressure this year to perform, because if he doesn't perform, he's not going to get the contract he's hoping for. And I mean, he's just not someone I'm really feeling in leagues this season. He's just not I don't know. This gives me not a good gut feeling, and I'm just staying away from Le'Veon for the most part. He's not someone I want to take on my team. Not someone I'd want to anchor my team with. I mean, I guess if he would fall to me if I have like 5th pickers, I mean, he'd fall, and all the big 4 that I had mentioned are gone. I guess I couldn't pass him up, but he's not someone I'm targeting, guys. I'd suggest staying away. That's just my feeling, and I'm sticking to it. And I know you guys are. If you guys are all in with these podcasts and stuff, I hope that y'all will stay away too, because I just don't see Le'Veon living up to the hype. Really don't. All right, wide receivers. Here we go. Let's shift gears here to wide receivers. Number one here, receiver, I got DeAndre Hopkins. Got D-Hop here at number one. Really like him this season. Feel like he's the number one receiver in fantasy. Gonna shaking things up early here because a lot of the sheep have AB first. But I just feel like Watson's got more upside. I mean, even without Deshaun, Hopkins, excuse me, has more upside. Not Watson. Even considering he missed Watson for half of last season, Hopkins still had 96 catches, 1,370 yards, and 13 TDs, which is good enough for first among receivers, slightly ahead of AB, although AB did miss 2 games on the stretch. But, Hopkins is just incredible. He was so amazing last year. The sky is the limit for this guy. He is amazing. He could easily exceed those numbers from last year with a healthy Watson. I think he could get up to 16 touchdowns, 1,500 yards. That's the kind of number. You don't see those numbers too often. DeAndre Hopkins, guys, is incredible. He's the number one receiver for fantasy in my eyes. I love him this season. Number two, we had mentioned him, AB, Antonio Brown. He is Mr. Consistency. You gotta love him. If he falls to me like 7th overall and the big 5 running backs are going along with Hopkins, I wouldn't be scared to take AB. I know he's on the Madden covers. He's got the Madden curse. I don't buy all that. AB's gonna produce. He will get his numbers. He's amazing. So consistent. I just don't feel like he has as high a ceiling as D-Hop due to the emergence of Juju Smith-Schuster, but he's still, though, even with missing 2 games last year, had 114 catches, 1,550 yards, 10 TDs. That you can't argue with those numbers. The guy gets his numbers year in, year out. He's amazing stud. He'll get it done for you. All right, number 3 here, we got Odell Beckham. I love Odell this year, guys. I can't stress this enough. Odell Beckham, he's going to go off this year. Back healthy from that ankle injury. He's going to be motivated for that big contract. I believe this is contract year, so he's going to be all in this year. He's at least 90 catches, 1,300 yards, and 10 touchdowns when healthy. He was on pace for about that last season before he broke his ankle. A lot of people say, a decline for Beckham. If it wasn't for that fluky injury, he'd had his usual numbers. He's so good, has such a high ceiling. Because he can just break a big play at any moment. He arguably has the highest ceiling of anyone, other than Hopkins. And he's a first-round lock. If I have a back-end first-round pick, like that 8th, 9th pick, I'm securing Odell. Odell is so good. He's right up there with any running back. I feel like other than those elite running backs that I mentioned as the top 5, Odell is just, he's elite. He's gonna get his numbers. He's gonna live up to that first round hype. Moving on here to number 4, I got Michael Thomas. Got Michael Thomas at number 4. Really like Michael Thomas here. Can't guard Mike. He goes by Can't Guard Mike. I love his just positive attitude, his work ethic, staying on the grind. He just continues to get better and better. He's working harder than ever this offseason. I feel like his production could easily go up this year, especially the touchdowns. He's been in the league only 2 years, so he's got room for growth. His 2-year average is 98 catches, 1,191 yards, and 7 touchdowns. I definitely like those touchdowns could go up. He's the favorite target in an elite Saints offense with Drew Brees, whom I mentioned earlier. I'm sure he'll be throwing more this year, especially with Mark Ingram suspended those first 4 games. So I really love Thomas this year. Love his upside. He's a rock solid back end first rounder. If you have like the 11th or 12th pick, I'd be all in with Michael Thomas. And I gotta really love him this season. And to cap it off for receivers, number 5, we got Davante Adams. I really like Davante Adams this year. Coming in here at 5, did really well last year despite missing Aaron Rodgers for a big chunk of the season. Adams was very impressive, even with a suspect backup in Brett Hundley. And the guy is a touchdown machine, y'all. Touchdown machine. He is such a big target there in the red zone, does it all. He's averaged 11 touchdowns the past 2 years. And then with Jordy Nelson there out of town, I feel like he's going to get even more this season. He's by far the best receiver in Green Bay and what's a weak receiving core overall. Davante Adams is just so good. Rodgers such a threat. He's just, and the way they run all the multiple receiver sets, he'll probably won't face too many double teams or anything. He's so good, Davante Adams. He's incredible. I think he could easily get up to around 15 TDs this year. He's just incredible. Davante Adams, I'm all in with him this year. Good, very good second round value pick. I'd take him over Julio Jones. I mean, a lot of sheep rankings have Julio third, fourth. I'm not as big on Julio as them. I just don't feel he just never lives up to the expectations. I'm not paying for guys that don't produce, and Adams produces. He's my number 5 receiver. He's got upside for even more this year, so I'm all in with him. All right, here we go. Wrapping it up here. Moving on to tight ends. Last position. Number 1 here. Not too excited about this guy, but he's got to be the number 1 guy, and that's Rob Gronkowski. I mean, Gronk, though, is just not someone I'm targeting on my teams, though. He's got the highest ceiling among the tight ends. Can't argue with that. He's got the highest ceiling by far. Because if he stays healthy, which is a big if, but if he lives up to that if, then he's a lock for well over 1,000 yards and double-digit TDs. Probably about 12 touchdowns, which is very, very hard to find these days among tight ends. I mean, not many tight ends possess that upside. No tight end possesses that kind of upside. So I definitely would take him first if I had my choice among tight ends, but I'm not spending a second-round pick on this guy. There's no way. When you got so many good running backs or receivers out there, I mean, if you take Gronk in the second, then you're going to kill your running backs and receivers, and all your league mates are going to be laughing at you when Gronk gets injured. I mean, it's a trend I've noticed pretty much every year. The team that drafts Gronk never wins their league because they always reach on him, and he never lives up to the hype. So I'm not messing with him. I'm staying away. Even though he's number 1 on my tight end rankings, I'm not really feeling him this year. He just never seems to live up to his average draft position. Number 2 here, we got Travis Kelsey. Kelsey he's the Mr. Consistency of this position. Just super consistent, rock solid. The only thing with him, he has is a little bit of limited red zone upside from what I've noticed. He had the 8 touchdowns last season, but before that, he'd usually only get around 5. So, I mean, but he's a lock for 1,000 yards, though. I've had over 80-something catches, 1,000 yards. He's a PPR gem at the tight end position. He's super consistent, super durable. He's in the prime of his career. He's so rock solid there. It's very rare for a tight end these days to get that 1,000-yard mark. So if you have a chance to get Kelsey there late third, early fourth, I'd scoop him up. He'd be a good value there. Going, though, a little too high for my liking right now due to that limited TD upside. Number 3 here, we got Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz finally blossomed last year. He had 8 touchdowns, which we were fine. That was the thing that was hurting his fantasy value, but Carson Wentz was targeting him a lot there in the red zone, so Ertz really took off last year. Had a great season, was a rock-solid TE1. I mean, the only thing he does seem a lot of times to have nagging injuries, but if he can get over those injuries, he's got a 1,000-yard upside. He definitely does. I'd say he's a solid late 4th round pick. I'd probably feel a little more comfortable with him in the 5th, but I mean, if there's just a lack of talent there, if you have a back end 4th rounder, I wouldn't say Ertz would be a bad pick. I mean, he's a very good producer there. One of the few elite tight ends out there. So yeah, he's definitely someone that I feel like's legit. Number 4 here, we've got Greg Olson. Really love Olson this year. I feel like he's a great bounce back candidate. I mean, other than last season, he was the definition of consistency and durability. I mean, the guy was always in there. I mean, just had a terrible bad luck injury there with the foot fracture. It was just unfortunate. I mean, he really toughed it out there down the stretch, battled it out, even though he was, I'm sure, in a ton of pain. But he battled through it, guys. He had not a great second half, but I mean, he put up some solid games, including the playoff game against the Saints. He had over 100 yards. Incredible effort from Greg Olson. I wouldn't put it past him to finish as a top 3 tight end again. I mean, I have him here 4th, but I mean, the guy's just so good. I got him in the Twitterverse Instagram league. So glad I did, to that rock solid veteran stability at the tight end position. Not many guys are capable of 1,000 yards at this position, but Greg Olson definitely is. He's doesn't have too much red zone upside, but I mean, Cam Newton's got a big arm. He has about 6-8 TDs. He is very good as an elite TE1. They don't come around very often. Olson's just rock solid. I mean, he's a guy. Get him there in the mid-5th or something. I mean, I'll take him. I mean, I like him. He's very solid. Number 5 here, we've got another old consistent veteran. I mean, this guy just, I know he's getting up there, but he's just so durable, so consistent. That's Delanie Walker. I mean, Delanie Walker is just Mr. Consistency at the position, gets it done every year, around 800 yards, around 70, 80 catches. I mean, it's hard to find these days. And PPR is a great value. Standard leagues, though, here at 5, I'd probably lean more toward Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham has big touchdown upside there in Green Bay. Because like I said earlier, with Davante Adams, there's not too much competition there for targets. So Jimmy Graham could see a ton of targets this year, especially in the red zone. I definitely think he's a good bet for double-digit touchdowns again this year. So if in standard format, I'd give a slight edge to Graham. So it's going to be a battle there for 5th between Walker, Jimmy Graham. But like I said, tight ends you can usually wait on. Those guys can usually grab them 6th, 7th round. Don't reach on them though. So all right, well that wraps it up here. That's the top 5 at each position. Make sure to subscribe to the channel here, and we'll have even more podcast episodes here coming out in the next few weeks. Going to be pumping them up, hitting you hard with these episodes, guys. Make sure to continue to watch, continue to tune in. Also got some big stuff coming on Instagram as well. I mean, we're gonna really ramp it up here. It's getting close to draft season, very close. Almost to August here. That's when I know all you guys drafts will be happening. So make sure to keep tuning in and keeping up with the podcast here. And alrighty, well I'm out. Thanks for tuning in. See y'all later.